Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. And I will be brief here. I just wanted to say that in reality, there are so many issues with this particular plan. But one of the couple of things to make note of is that first, both senators said that even if this would not go forward, perhaps there still could be a way forward for this to happen. I believe even the senator who's been most opposed to this has said that even his mayor has talked about the fact that there may be alternative ways of making this take place. But when we start also looking at the second point, though, is when we start looking at the fact that there are so many issues concerning voting rights, when we see that there are African Americans who are going to be moved, when we see that there are African Americans who are going to lose their opportunity to serve possibly, moved out of their districts, when we look at the fact that we talk about economic impact, when we look at the fact that the processes that have taken place or the lack of processes that are taking place, and we see the mistrust and persons have come and talked about how this could increase mistrust in the community and things of that nature, we realize that two things. One, by voting no, we have not ended the process. The fight, whatever this fight may be, can still continue. But second, by voting no here, we actually affirm who we are. And that is, we affirm that we can continue to move forward as one community. That when we have a backdrop of all of these different problems that are taking place, when we have a backdrop of all these civil rights issues that people are mentioning and going to court, and they certainly will be going to court, when we have that backdrop, what we actually affirm today by voting no is who we are. And recognize that there have been many times in our nation's history where we've had this same conversation and we had a choice to either affirm that we can continue as one community and we can work things out, even though the very next day we may fight. We could choose to either just follow the rules because we say the rules allow us to do this, or we can actually affirm who we are. Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act of 1965 was an affirmation that we're one community, when in fact neither one of those bills had to be passed. Brown versus Board of Education was an affirmation of our community, when in fact there was items in the Constitution that said it didn't have to actually go forward. There have been many situations where we could have always hid behind the rules and not done what was right. Today, we have a choice. We can hide behind the rules and just say we can do it, or we can affirm who we are as a community. And the senator from the 10th, I believe, made a comment about a personal matter, and I'll say this, that my dad, who is still living, is probably going to kill me. But 65 years before my dad was born, slavery actually still existed. He could not legally go to a state college or to a state law school, but because we affirmed who we were as a people, not only does his son get to go to a state college and a state law school, he becomes the first African-American solicitor for Augusta, Georgia, and one of 56. That happened because we affirmed who we were as a community, as a state, and as a nation. So voting no doesn't end the fight. There's going to be all kind of arguments. Voting no affirms who we are. Voting no doesn't mean that come Tuesday we're not going to still have our arguments and we're not going to still battle. We absolutely are. Voting no only means that we affirm the grace of our nation and our state. So I respectfully ask you to vote no on the bill, but please vote yes on Amendment 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.